Welcome to the very first episode of the Well Woman series. My name is Gamonefale, your local OT on Instagram, and yeah, I think that's how I'm gonna introduce this. I'm just gonna say this is very difficult. Recording yourself, nobody ever tells you this, but it's very difficult because then I have to play it back and speak to myself and be like, hi girl, Gwena Orlin. Wow, but very difficult. But anyway, hi, my name is Gamonefale, and this is the Well Woman series, a platform that I curated, or that I'm curating to share more about women's health, to dive deep into bridging the gaps between women's health and how it affects our mental health, and just to give you a little bit of TMI here and there. I'll be storytelling, I'll be inviting expert insight, I'll be giving my own perspective into things, but please, disclaimer, this does not constitute as medical advice. It is strongly recommended that you do consult your general practitioner, which is your doctor, or your specialist physicians or specialist obstetricians and gynecologists. Very important. If ever you want to learn more about your body, seek out the relevant information. Without further ado, I think let's dive into who am I and why on earth are you listening to me. So I'm an occupational therapist by profession. I studied at the University of Pretoria, and along the way I've been trying to sort of develop my field. Let's say the field that I want to dive into as a healthcare professional. And I've always been called to the women's sector. I love women's health, I love women's empowerment. I think that is one thing that God truly speaks over me consistently, is that I thrive in spaces where women are, because I was raised by a household of women. So I know how to speak girl-ish. But I think there were some moments in my upbringing where girlhood was not fully embraced. We did not speak about going on our period. We did not speak about maintaining our sense of hygiene. We knew that we needed to bath. We knew that we needed to put on a roll on. We knew that we needed to smell good and just hygienically be clean. But as I grew older, I was like, there's so much into being a girl. There's really so much that we don't actually speak about. And I think when I reached my 25th year, I realized that there's a lot that I didn't know about girlhood that I should have. Let me just tell you a rough story about, a very TMI story about my cycle. Yes, so I've never had a regular period ever in my life, and tell me why had nobody in my life said, let's go see a doctor, or let's go see a gynae, or let's go see just anybody so that we can see what is happening. That did not happen. But also I could also attribute it to my growing up, and ultimately we didn't have a lot of financial means, but could have gone to a clinic, could have gone, it's a shoulda, coulda, woulda, but we didn't. So we're here now and we know better. So because we know better, what do? We do better. So then we never really dived deep into that. So I continuously had my on and off. Every 3 months I'd get on my cycle until around, I think, when I reached 17, 18, where it became a little bit more regular but extremely painful. Like, to the point where I was like, guys. What in the vagina is going on? I remember an incident in high school where we were just talking as girls, and a friend was like, no guys, to manage my pain I take 6 painkillers and I go to sleep and I wake up the next day. And in retrospect, that worked back then, but now as a healthcare professional and as somebody who has a little bit of more knowledge, I'm like, the level of pain that we experienced was not natural. It is not natural. There was so much silence around womanhood in our own households that prevented us from getting the help that we needed at the time that we needed it. Because now that we know better and now that there's more research into women's health, we could attribute those pains to various diagnoses, which I'll get to various diagnoses. But ultimately, it just always stayed at the back of my mind that maybe something is wrong. This shouldn't hurt like this. Then I met a friend in varsity who told me, you have period pains? That's weird. Why do you have them? How do you not? I literally have to take a day. I used to take a day off, especially on the first day of the cycle into the second day. First and second day were the worst. I think I took 3 to 4 painkillers just to at least manage the pain, and then after that I was fine. I was fine, like nothing happened. So then I'd move on with my life. But then it kept on happening and happening and happening. Fast forward, I'm 25 now. Now things are different. My girlies, where are you talking about these things? So my family basically, how do I say this? We are women that will grow facial hair. And that hit exactly when I turned 25. But why all of a sudden do I have hirsutism? Right here, along my jawline. I left it for the purpose of this recording so that you can see, because why? I believe that when stories are told, the shame dies. So I remember even going, that's my first consult actually, with the gynae. The beard told me to go to a gynae because now it's a visible sign. So then I remember going to the gynae, and that was post watching a video by a popular influencer. I can't remember her name, but I'm gonna tag her. And she was talking about PCOS and how it sort of how it showed up. What were the presenting symptoms? And she spoke about the beard, the facial hair. She spoke about the abdominal pain. She spoke about the irregular cycle. So I was like, you know what? This is now me. Let me go in. Went in, and I remember the doctor immediately saying, no girl, you have PCOS. Now, if you go to a doctor and a gynae in that instance, please make sure your gynae does the relevant tests, actually checks your levels, checks what exactly is happening in your body, gives you the numbers. My then gynae did, was look at me, look at my face, told him my symptoms, and was like, yeah, no, it's definitely PCOS. Let's book you for surgery. So I got home and I was crying and I was bawling my eyes out. This is just within the year that I was getting married. I'd gotten married. So I was like, my husband has now got a wife with a beard now. So let's just make sure we manage everything. So it was upon having that conversation with him where I came in already with a thought that he took it and he ran with it without doing the relevant tests. And had I not sought out a second opinion from a friend who's a doctor, I would have really taken everything that he has said to heart, because he's a specialist and I trust that he has the eye to see it before. Anyway, switched gynaes, then I felt pregnant, right? And pregnancy in its own has its own challenges, guys. Your body changes. I love maternal health, don't get me wrong. I love women's health, I love maternal health, but pregnancy really ripped me to shreds. Because now, yes, I'm not getting my period, great, high five. But everything else is changing. Now my hormones are up and down. I'm crying more. I don't know whether I'm coming out, whether I'm going. And my mood is really getting affected. I think I was happy majority of my pregnancy, but the minute I gave birth, nobody really prepared me about the sharp decline that happens. And because I was not prepared for that hormonal dip, I went into postpartum, what I call postpartum, what I know now is postpartum depression, but back then my doctor had called it the baby blues, and I struggled a lot with understanding why are these blues not ending, why are they continuous. I felt like I was just underwater constantly, but that just speaks to how much more research still needs to be put into women's health so that we understand better and we can give the necessary support. But ultimately, that has been my sort of journey, and currently where I'm at a place where I'm now 9 months postpartum with my second kid. I am struggling to lose weight, which is expected. I'm struggling to lose the weight. My period has not returned. I did consult with a gynae, but I think in one of these episodes, I'm going to take you with to just meet my gynae and we go through the relevant tests and what a wild woman examination is, so that women are at least more empowered, so that my girlies and women are at least more empowered to seek out the relevant help for themselves. So one of the episodes I'll do that, but that's where I'm currently. I'm struggling with the weight loss. The hair is getting massive. The facial hair is getting massive, and it's just on the face where it's not getting thick. And I'm wondering, oh my soul, I need to get this tested out, because what is happening? I can feel myself going through the various phases of the cycle, so the luteal phase, the follicular phase, the ovulation, but I don't get to the menstrual phase. When I'm supposed to be there, I can feel my emotions start dipping. I become very reactive, I become very sad, but it doesn't arrive. So I can tell that I am going through the normal cycle, but without that. And during that time, I get the most excruciating pain in my abdomen with nothing. So that's my TMI. It gets TMI than this, but currently that's where I'm gonna leave it, because there's just a lot to unpack as a woman. I think we are the source of life. It sounds very weird, but we are a source of life. We give life. That's besides the point. I think understanding what is happening within our reproductive system as girlies is quite pivotal, because it affects how we show up. It affects where we put our effort. It affects how we process things. Some things are just a hormonal imbalance, and once your hormones are balanced, you can reason, man. You can tell that you can reason. But let's go into what I love to go into, and this is why I believe God has called me to this, because there was a message in the Bible. So I'm reading from the book of Luke 8 verse 43, and it says, a woman in the crowd suffered for 12 years with constant bleeding. Red flag. And she could find no cure. Coming up behind Jesus, she touched the fringe of his robe. Immediately the bleeding stopped. Jesus then asked, who touched me? Everyone denied it, and Peter said, Master, this whole crowd is pressing up against you. But Jesus said, someone deliberately touched me, for I felt healing power go out from me. When the woman realized that she could not stay hidden, she began to tremble and fell to her knees in front of him. The whole crowd heard her explain why she touched him, and she had been immediately healed. He said to her, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. And I guess that's where the Wild Woman series actually comes from. It came from sitting with the scripture for for 2 months. Actually, it came from sitting with the scripture for 2 months, because what did I understand by this woman's story? Number one, she's unnamed. Number two, we know that she had been going through a gynecological issue for 12 long years. This just speaks to how many women are still experiencing reproductive system issues without having a solution. The various challenges that women go through and how they've sort of kept afloat. But yeah, we know that according to under Jewish law, that this woman was considered ceremonially unclean. That means that she was isolated, she had no relationships, she could not touch people, she always had to stay hidden, and that does something to your mental health. We went through COVID, we've experienced what being confined in our spaces without external support, without that engagement with people did. And currently we are seeing the ramifications of that, where we're seeing that a lot of mental health issues are on the rise. She was socially ostracized. But also I think in Mark, it speaks about how she spent a lot of money going to doctors and seeking help and not getting the help that she needs. Recently, there were there's a lot of information about menopause that's coming out. There's a lot of information about endometriosis that's coming out and how to detect it faster. It's certain things like that, but there is some improvement and there is some efforts going into it, and we need to at least acknowledge that there are scientists in the room that are really caring about women's health, right? Not only scientists, healthcare professionals, a whole bunch. So as an occupational therapist, I look at that as well. I look at, okay, so socially there were issues. Financially, she was drained. She was convicted to seek out a final solution, and that's attests to the gospel of Jesus. She was convicted enough to break those laws that said, do not touch people, do not go out into the public. She touched his hem and she was healed, and it spoke to a healing that was deeper than what we could understand. It spoke to identity restoration. There was a lot of identity work, because I imagine as a woman, I know as a woman, once certain things aren't going according, you tend to question your identity. I remember when I thought we were struggling to conceive, how that made me sort of look at myself a little bit differently, because society has sort of played a very big role in here. Yeah, I think the biggest one is expectations of myself. That how could I have gone through all those years of struggling with my cycle and still now struggle with conceiving and. But fortunately, it did not lead to that. I did not struggle, but it just gives it just speaks to how much the woman's health and wellness impacts so many other things around being a woman. And that is what the series is going to touch on. That is what the series is going to touch on. It's going to touch on an effect what being a well woman does to your surroundings, not only to your environment, but to your mental health, to your emotional health, to how you relate to yourself. I think that is the biggest relationship that we have, is with ourselves and how we speak to ourselves. And if there's issues and if we are not well or we are not healthy, it shows up. And we need to address it, and we need to find the words to address it or to advocate for ourselves. I hope this platform and this series gives you that as a girly, to go out and seek the necessary information about yourself. Get to know yourself. I hope this makes you get to know yourself and helps restore the relationship with your body. I think that is the biggest one, because we do ultimately have that responsibility to be in conversation and in communion with ourselves, because how we show up for ourselves is how we're going to show up out there, you know. Yeah, but this is the Well Woman Effect series. I will be sharing a whole lot more about my journey. I will be sharing a lot of more stories about the women around me, the women I know, and how they either conquered or are conquering their journeys. And I will be sharing a lot of expert insight as to how best can we support our young girls. Also, I'm a mom, right? I'm a mom to a 3-year-old, and I think about this consistently, that I don't want her to inherit the silence. I don't want her to inherit the stigma. I don't want her to inherit the shame. Ultimately, I want the future girlies, I want the future young women that we raise to really be emboldened in their journey, in their women's health journey, in their reproductive health journey, whatever journey they decide to pursue. Be it ultimately you want to have kids, you don't want to have kids, but you need to be living a life that is rid of illness, that is not affecting your finances, that is not affecting your emotions. I think once we have that conversation and we push that movement of getting to know ourselves at a young age, we will have more girls empowered. So yes, that is the crux of the Well Woman Effect series. But as Maya Angelou said when she was asked, why do you have an interest in women's health? She said, because I'm a woman and I'd be a darn fool to not be on my own side. And with that, I'd be a darn fool to not be on my sister's side. I'd be a darn fool to not be on my mom's side. Boy, we have a whole lifetime in these bodies. And we need to start learning, being a little bit more inquisitive and learning what it means. But until next time, stay well, stay blessed, and I hope you can relate to the conversations that we will be having. If you liked this episode, click the like button. If you have a comment, click your comment button. Also, if you have questions that you want us to address, I will be bringing on gynaes. I will be bringing on human rights activists, mental health activists. I'll be bringing on psychologists. I'll be bringing on the whole shebang. And I'll be bringing on women with stories to tell. So if you have a question to ask that you want us to unpack on this series, please do comment and do subscribe. Click that like button, click that listen button, share it. This is just health promotion. We are saying go out there, inquire of yourself, get to know yourself. And then handle whatever your presenting symptoms are accordingly. I saw this meme. It says run, don't walk. Run, don't walk. Go to your practitioners and get the necessary help. Until next time, that's it from myself, Kamo, your local occupational therapist with a special interest in women's health and maternal health. Until next time, stay blessed.